Hello student, I once again welcome you in this virtual platform. Through these platforms, we are learning these lessons. Yesterday we started the lessons Water the Elixir of Life. It is written by C.V. Raman. We all know that C.V. Raman is the man who got the Nobel Prize for his inventions that is known as Raman effect. He was the professor in physics. He was working in Indian Institute of Science in Bangalore. So in previous video we saw some basic information about this man's and we saw the basic information about this lesson also. Elixir, we know, such a liquid things which gives immortality. In Marathi we can say Amrut. Okay, so we saw that how C.V. Raman tried to emphasize the importance of water in our life. It is it is a kind of nectar in our life. So today let's see the actual lessons. See what C.V. Raman has to say about this waters. How he begins. Let's see. Humankind means the we peoples, all peoples. Humankind has always searched in vain for an imaginary elixir of life, the divine Amrita, a draught of which was thought to confer immortality. So here at the beginning he says that the mankind always try to search the imaginary elixir of life. In fact, there is no such a elixir of life which we can say the Amrut. That's why the peoples try to search the imaginary elixir of life, which we say gives immortality to human beings. But in fact, there is no such a divine Amrita. Further, he says, but the true elixir of life lie near our hand. We search for the imaginary elixir of life, but in fact we have the true elixir of life in our hand. And what is that? For it is the commonest of all liquid, plain water. And what is that? It is the plain waters, the water. That is the elixir of life. C.V. Raman called the water the elixir of lives because it gives lives to each and everything. I remember one day standing on the line which separates the Libyan desert from the valley of the Niles in Egypt. So here he is giving comparison. He is comparing the deserts with the valley of Niles. So one day he was standing on the line that separates the desert and the valley. He was standing on the border between the deserts and the valley. On one side was the invisible sea of billowing sand without a speck of green or a single living thing anywhere visible on it. So on that day he saw that on the one hand there was a sea of billowing sand. There was sand everywhere, not a single plant, not a single greenery on that land. That was the desert. And on the other hand, what he saw, on the other side lay one of the greatest, most fertile and densely populated area to be found anywhere on the earth, teeming with life and vegetations. And on the other hand he found the dense area where he found number of vegetables, and he found the instance of number or instance of life. What was that? On the one side there was a desert and on the other side there was a valley. त्याला काय दिसलं की एक साईडनं पूर्णपणे वाळवंट आहे आणि एक साईड पूर्णपणे हिरवगाळ, जिकडे सगळीकडे आपल्याला असं वाटतं की जीवन नांदत आहे. What made this wonderful difference? Why it is what? Why it is the water of the river Nile. Geologists tell us that the entire soil of the Nile's valley is a creation of the river itself. Egypt, in fact, was made by its river. Its ancient civilization was created and is sustained by the life-giving water of the Nile. So, why this difference? What is the reason? The difference is noticed. The only cause of that difference is water. On the one side there is water of the Nile's rivers, and on the another side there is no water. Water creates life, and without water there is only desert, the death, not a single plant there. And in ancient civilizations, in ancient time, it is said that it is only the Nile rivers which gives lives to all these things. This common substance which make lake for granted, this common substance which take for granted in our everyday life is the most potent and the most wonderful thing on the face of our earth. It has played a very significant role in shaping the course of the earth's history and continue to play the leading role in the drama of life on earth. So what is these things? Each and every persons, everybody's take this water as a granted. Take this as a granted means we things it's presents everywhere, so there is no value, we take it for granted. But this is the most significant things in on this earth, and history says that the water play an important role in the drama of life. Whenever we see the life, behind that life there lies the significance. There is the water that gives its life. There is nothing which adds so much to the beauty of the countryside as a water. Be it just a little stream tickle over the rock, or a little pond by the wayside where the cattle quench their thirst. And here the author says we cannot compare any other thing to waters. Water has its own beauty, whether it's countryside water, whether we take a little stream on the rock, or the roadside ponds where the cattle drink the waters. There is no other substance which take the place of this water. Water has its own beauty and its own act. The rain-fed tank that are so common in South India are the cheering sight when they are full. The rain-fed tank means when the rains comes, there we see the tanks. Due to the rains, we see the tanks, storage of water, the rain-fed tank. There is nothing, anything which can fed them. That's why it's called the rain-fed. They are of course shallow, but this is the less evidence since the water is silt laden and bottom does not therefore shown up. Thus red fin tanks are shallow, it's not deep, but we cannot see the ground of that tank because there is some kind of the dirt, or we can say there are full tint, dirt, or the silt which the author used for that. These tanks play a vital role in the South Indian agriculture. In Mysore, for example, much of the rice is grown under them. Some of these tanks are surprisingly large, and it is a beautiful sight to see the sun rise and set over one of them. And that rain-fed tanks play important roles. in South Indian agriculture, because in these tanks the farmers take the crop of rice or any other things. In Mysore, here the author has given the examples. The much rice is grown under them. The tank play important roles for growing the rice, the crop of rice. Further, the author says, one of the most remarkable fact about the water is its power to carry silt in suspensions. Here, another remarkable fact about the water is the power to carry the silt in suspensions. Suspensions mean to have the break, and silt, that means dirty things. This is the origin of the characteristics color of the water in rain-fed tanks. The color varies with the nature of earth in the catchment area and is most vivid immediately after a fresh inflow flowing rain. When we see the tank in the rainy seasons, sometimes the color difference and colors vary from place to place. And why it's vary? Because of the soil quality where we find. Swiftly flowing water can carry fairly large and heavy particles. The finest particles, however, remain floating within the liquid in spite of their greater density and are carried to the great distance. So, what the water does? What the water does? It's carry with them some particles, the dust, and that particles, the particles of soils, can be carried to the great distance. When the silt-laden water mixes with the salt water of the sea, there is a rapid precipitation. There is a rapid precipitations of the suspended water. When that water mix with the salty water, there is a rapid precipitations of the suspended matter. Then it split away. This can be readily seen when one travels by the steamer down a great river to the deep sea. The color of the water changes successively from the muddy red or brown of silt through varying shade of yellow and green, finally to the blue of the deep surface. When that here the author want to say that when water mingle with the salty vapors or the falls in that salty waters, that particles spread, and when the light goes through it, it becomes yellow and shows the number of the colors like the yellow, greens, and finally the blue of the deep seas, because that waters merge into that sea. The great tract of the lands have been formed by the silts thus deposit. Such a lands consisting as does of the finally divine matter is usually very fertile. The flow of water has undoubtedly played a great part in geological process, and we have also noticed the fertile lands beside the river, beside the lake. Why there is a fertile lands? Because waters carry with them some particle of the soils which can flow from one distance to another, and that particles when saturated and when come to the one place, that land become fertile. So this is the characteristics of the water. Here we are going to stop. We will see the remaining parts in the next video. Thank you.